You're scrolling through political news right now, probably getting exhausted by the endless drama between countries. Russia versus America, China versus everyone, Brexit chaos, trade wars. And you're thinking, man, why can't world leaders just get along? Well, let me paint you a picture of what getting along would actually look like if we all lived on one giant continent. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, grab your coffee, and check the news. But instead of reading about tensions between distant countries, the headline reads, Chinese tanks spotted 50 miles from Berlin. American forces mobilizing through former Canadian territories. Nuclear alert issued for continental defense grid. Welcome to Politics on Pangaea. See, here's something we never think about. Every argument between countries in our world stays an argument because there's an ocean in the way. When Trump and Xi Jinping had their trade war, they tweeted angrily and imposed tariffs.
Donald Trump says the United States is poised to slap an additional.
But imagine if Beijing was connected to Washington, D.C. by a 6-hour drive on Interstate 95. That trade war becomes a very different conversation when Chinese military convoys can literally roll up to the White House gates. And this isn't just hypothetical military posturing. This is Tuesday afternoon politics in a Pangaea world. Think about Brexit for a second. Britain voted to leave the European Union, and you know what happened? They left. They sailed away to their island and said, see you later, Europe. But if Britain was landlocked between France and Germany, with no English channel to retreat across, Brexit wouldn't be a referendum. It would be a civil war. Every political disagreement becomes existential when you can't physically distance yourself from your neighbors. Now, if you're enjoying this thought experience so far, do me a favor, and I promise this will make sense in a minute. Hit that like and subscribe button below, because what I'm about to show you next is going to completely change how you think about freedom itself. And I want to make sure YouTube knows you're here for this kind of mind-bending content. Ready? Here we go. Let's talk about your smartphone for a minute. Right now, you can download apps from American companies, Chinese companies, European companies. You can use WhatsApp, WeChat, Telegram, Signal, whatever you want, because these companies operate across different countries and different laws, different technologies, different approaches to privacy. But in a Pangaea world, there's no Silicon Valley competing with Shenzhen, competing with Stockholm. There's just the consensual tech monopoly. Whoever develops the best surveillance technology first gets to monitor everyone. Forever. Imagine if your TikTok algorithm wasn't just influenced by Chinese preferences, but was literally the only social media platform available. Because there's no alternative country to develop competing apps. No different culture to create different digital experiences. Your entire digital life would be shaped by whoever won the continental technology race. And here's where it gets really personal. Let's say you disagree with your government's policies. Maybe you think they're too authoritarian, too controlling, too invasive. In our world, you have options. You can immigrate to Canada or Australia or Sweden, somewhere with different values, different laws, different approaches to freedom. But on Pangaea, there is no Canada, there is no Australia, there's just here. The same continental government stretching from what used to be Alaska all the way down to what used to be Chile. When every political system on Earth shares borders, the strongest one eventually absorbs or destroys all the alternatives. Now here's something wild to consider, the weather. The interior of Pangaea supercontinent would be absolutely uninhabitable. We're talking temperatures that make Phoenix in July feel like a cool spring day. Massive monsoons that make hurricanes look like gentle rain showers. The center of this landmass would be a scorching desert wasteland where humans literally cannot survive. So where does everyone live? The edges. The narrow coastal strips around the perimeter of the continent. All 8 billion people on Earth, crammed into maybe 20% of the available land? Every housing crisis becomes a continental crisis. Every climate refugee becomes everyone's problem. Every natural disaster creates a domino effect that ripples across thousands of miles of connected territory. And remember, there's nowhere else to go. No other continent to migrate to. No undiscovered lands to escape to. No island to sail away to when things get too crowded or too dangerous. But here's the part that should terrify you. Nuclear weapons. Right now, nuclear deterrence works because of geography. Russia launches missiles at America. America's submarines in the Atlantic and Pacific launch missiles back. It's horrible, but it's contained to those two countries. and other nations survive to rebuild civilization. But in a Pangaea world, everyone shares the same continent. A nuclear war doesn't just destroy the countries fighting, it potentially ends human civilization entirely. Because there's no isolated Australia or South America or Africa to carry on after the nuclear winter clears. This creates what military strategists call first strike pressure. If you think your enemy might nuke you, you have massive incentives to nuke them first, because once the shooting starts, there's no geographic separation to limit the damage. The math of mutually assured destruction breaks down when mutual annihilation becomes instantaneous and total. Alright, pause for just a second. I want to hear from you in the comments below, and this is important because it helps me understand what kind of content you actually want to see. Tell me, would you rather live in a chaotic multi-country world with all its conflicts and complications, or would you take your chances in a unified Pangaea world where humanity has to sink or swim together? Drop your answer below, and while you're there, let me know what other mind-bending scenarios you want to explore, because trust me, we're just scratching the surface here. Now, back to your life on Pangaea. Election day arrives, and you're watching the results. But this isn't just voting for your local representatives. This is a continental election where the results determine military deployments, resource allocation, and surveillance policies for every human being on Earth. The candidate from the former European sectors promises more personal freedom. The candidate from the former Chinese regions offer better economic efficiency. The American zones are pushing for technological innovation. The African regions want resource equity. But here's the thing, unlike our world where different countries can try different approaches and we can see which one works better, there's only one government position available. Winner takes all. Loser gets absorbed into the winner's system. Democracy becomes a lot more dangerous when there's only one democracy left to participate in. And your daily life? Imagine if your social credit score in Tokyo affected your ability to get a job in London. If your political opinions in Sao Paulo were tracked by facial recognition cameras in Moscow. If your internet browsing history in former Canada determined your travel permissions in former Australia. There's no European privacy law to protect you from American surveillance. No American free speech protects you to shield you from the Chinese censorship. No Swiss banking secrecy to hide from Russia intelligence, just one continental system with one set of rules enforced by whoever has the biggest military and the most advanced technology. Your passport becomes a survival document, not for traveling between different countries with different cultures and opportunities, but for navigating sectors of the same massive surveillance state, all under the same ultimate authority. And here's maybe the most depressing part, you'd never know what you were missing. The incredible diversity of human culture, politics, and social organization that we take for granted exists precisely because geographic separation allowed different societies to experiment with different solutions. Swiss direct democracy, Scandinavian social systems, American federalism, Japanese corporate culture, all of these developed in isolation and then influence each other through voluntary exchange. But in a Pangaea world, once one system proves dominant, there are no alternatives left to learn from. No other models to compare yours to. No competition between different approaches to human organization. Cultural evolution stops. Political innovation ends. Because there's nowhere else for new ideas to develop safely. You'd be living in the most politically successful system in human history, and it would also be the last political system human history would ever produce. And that's not science fiction. That's just geography plus human nature plus modern technology. The really wild part, we're already moving in this direction. Climate change is pushing populations towards smaller habitable zones. Global internet is homogenizing cultures, surveillance technology is getting so advanced that borders matter less and less. Economic systems are becoming so interconnected that local independence is almost impossible. In some ways, we're already living on Pangaea. We just haven't realized it yet. The question is, what are you going to do about it? And if that question has you thinking about the delicate balance that keeps our current world from sliding into exactly this scenario, you'll definitely want to understand how that balance actually works and how easily it could break. But here's something that should make you think twice about our fragile world of separated continents. Right now, beneath our oceans, lie the ruins of entire civilizations that once thought they were permanent. Cities with advanced architecture, complex societies, thriving populations, all swallowed by rising seas and what archaeologists can only describe as sudden catastrophic events. These weren't primitive settlements. We're talking about 9,000-year-old cities with stone circles that predate Stonehenge. Underwater metropolis with roads, buildings, and infrastructure that rival modern urban planning. Civilizations that had no idea their world was about to disappear beneath the waves forever. And here's the terrifying part. If sea levels rose enough to claim those ancient cities, what makes us think our current coastal megacities are safe? New York, Tokyo, London, Miami, all sitting at sea level, all vulnerable to the same forces that turned thriving civilizations into underwater ghost towns. Maybe the real question isn't what politics would look like on one giant continent. Maybe it's what happens to our politics when the continents we do have start shrinking. The ocean floor is littered with proof that even the most advanced civilizations can vanish without warning. And some of these discoveries are so mysterious, so perfectly preserved, that archaeologists are still struggling to explain how they even existed in the first place. Ready to dive deeper into humanity's lost chapters? Click the video on your screen to check it out.